The silence in Murphy's tavern was shattered by a ripping sound. Maya Thompson stood with her back exposed, revealing a Delta Force tattoo. The sight of it froze everyone, including Rex Morrison, a biker gang leader whose fear was palpable. To understand the significance of this moment, we have to go back 6 months to when Maya, a former soldier with a mysterious past, began working at the tavern. At 34, Maya's movements were precise and methodical, born from years of military discipline. She constantly scanned the room, a habit ingrained from living in dangerous places. Murphy O'Brien, the 65-year-old Vietnam veteran who owned the bar, had hired her without question. He recognized the pain in her silence, knowing some stories are told through scars, not words. Every night, Maya would wake up to the phantom weight of her M4 carbine and the acrid smell of combat, muffling her screams into a pillow. Her body was a map of old wounds, hidden under long sleeves. Customers noticed her knife skills and quiet efficiency, realizing she was more than just a bartender. Murphy had once told his wife that girl's got ghosts, and she had nodded in understanding. For 3 years, the Steel Wolves Motorcycle Club, led by Rex Morrison, had extorted Murphy's tavern every Friday night. Murphy would hand over $500 in protection money. Maya observed this ritual with tight-jawed discipline, having learned that sometimes survival meant not fighting every battle. Last week, however, her resolute had been tested when she witnessed Rex brutally beat a local shop owner, Jimmy Chen, for being short on his payment. Her soldier's instinct screamed at her to intervene, but she forced herself to turn away, the guilt burrowing deep. As the sound of motorcycles grew closer, Maya felt the familiar tightness in her chest. She and Murphy, two veterans from different wars, recognized the same dread in each other's eyes. But something was different tonight. The air felt metallic, and Maya's hands, which had been trembling, suddenly became still. This stillness was a dangerous thing, a warning that her carefully constructed invisibility was about to be shattered. The bikers roared into the lot, and Rex Morrison kicked open the door, his presence instantly transforming the cozy bar into a cage. He demanded more money, insulting Murphy, and then slapping him across the face. When Rex poured a full beer on the floor and told Murphy to clean it up, Maya stepped forward, positioning herself between the old man and the bully. She knelt to clean the mess, her calculated movements catching Rex's attention. He pinned her hand to the floor with his boot, demanding to know her name, his voice laced with venom. Maya didn't answer Rex, her silence a form of strategy. Murphy, blood trickling from his lip, tried to intervene, telling Rex to leave her alone. But Rex, never having faced a true warrior, saw only a quiet woman and continued to taunt her. He hurled a racial slur at her, which only caused a slight tightening in her jaw. When Rex shoved Murphy again, sending him crashing into shelves, something shifted in Maya. The moment was definitive, like a safety being switched off. "That's not how you solve problems," her voice cut through the chaos, with military precision. The entire bar froze, and Rex's face twisted from amusement to rage. He charged at Maya like a bull, but she sidestepped at the last second, using his momentum to send him crashing into a table. The other bikers hesitated when she grabbed a broken bottle and ordered them to stay back. Rex lunged again, but this time Maya met him head-on, her smaller frame absorbing and redirecting his force with professional skill. She delivered a series of precise strikes that left him gasping and off balance. As they grappled, Rex's hands found purchase on Maya's shirt, and the sound of tearing fabric split the air. The harsh tavern lights illuminated her bare back, revealing the sprawling Delta Force tattoo with its sword and 3 lightning bolts. Below it, the words S.G. Maya Thompson, Purple Heart recipient, Operation Enduring Freedom. The bar fell silent. Rex's mouth hung open in shock. A former Marine in the bar whispered, "Holy shit, she's Delta." Rex Morrison, his reputation built on fear, couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. His shock quickly turned to mockery, a defense born from his own fear. "Oh, this is rich," he sneered. Though his voice wavered slightly, Murphy's got himself a broken toy soldier. What's wrong, sweetheart? Still hearing the bombs in your head? He circled Maya, pressing her. How many of your squad came home in boxes because you weren't good enough? His words triggered a flashback for Maya. She was back in Kandahar, the dust and cordite, the memory of an IED explosion and her frantic efforts to save a fallen comrade. The trauma of those choices still haunted her, and her hands began to shake with the familiar tremor of her PTSD. Rex saw it and smiled, thinking he had found her weakness. There it is, the crazy showing through. What are you going to do, hero? Cry? But Maya wasn't crying. The shaking stopped as suddenly as it began, replaced by a deadly stillness. You know nothing about sacrifice, she said, her voice weighted with the memory of every flag-draped coffin. The crowd, which had been silent, began to stir. The Marine veteran from the corner stood up, calling Rex out for his disrespect. Others found their courage, their voices joining in. Rex's rage had nowhere to go, and he pulled a knife, but Maya's hands moved faster. With her combat training, she deflected his attack and used his own momentum to flip him onto the floor, where she held him in a professional control hold. With Rex immobilized, Maya's knee pressed against his spine. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I will protect those I care about. That's what soldiers do. The other bikers, confused and outnumbered, watched as Tommy Bulldog Martinez kick the fallen knife away from Rex. Stay down, Rex. You've lost, he said quietly. Inspired by Maya's courage, the patrons formed a protective wall between her and the rest of the bikers. This is our bar, Murphy declared, and she's one of us. Just then, Detective Sarah Kim arrived. She'd been trying to build a case against the Steel Wolves for months, but no one was ever willing to testify. Tonight was different. He pulled a knife on her, Murphy said immediately, and the chorus of agreement was overwhelming. Tommy Martinez, in an act of profound betrayal to Rex, stepped forward. I'm done with this. Detective Kim, I'll tell you everything. He explained that he followed Rex because he thought he was strong, but Maya had shown him what real strength looked like, protecting those weaker than you, even when it costs you everything. Two other bikers followed suit, stepping away from the gang. The story of the female Delta Force veteran defending the bar from a racist biker went viral. Maya, no longer hiding, stood in front of the tavern and spoke to news crews, her tattoo visible for all to see. For 6 months, I tried to hide who I was, thinking my scars made me weak. But real strength isn't about hiding. It's about standing up for what's right, even when your hands shake. Her interview was viewed millions of times, and she became a symbol of resilience. 3 months later, Rex Morrison was in federal prison, his empire dismantled and his family having disowned him. The Steel Wolves gang had disbanded, and Tommy Martinez had opened an auto shop that exclusively hired veterans. But the biggest transformation happened at Murphy's Tavern. It became a sanctuary for veterans dealing with PTSD. Maya started leading weekly support groups, sharing her story to help others. I thought I was protecting myself by hiding, but isolation isn't safety. It's just another kind of prison. Murphy, who had recovered fully, legally made Maya a partner in the bar. Together, they had created a beacon of hope for broken warriors. Maya's story inspired other veterans to seek help, and she began to consult with the VA on improving PTSD treatment programs. Most importantly, she continued to tend the bar, believing that showing up was the most powerful thing she could do. Every time she wore a tank top and showed her tattoo, she was sending a message to every veteran that it was okay to be wounded. 6 months after the night that changed everything, the old Murphy's Tavern was unrecognizable. It had new paint, updated furniture, and a wall of honor displaying photos of local veterans. The regulars were no longer just drinkers, but a community seeking connection. Maya, no longer hiding, smiled as she served a group of female veterans who had driven 2 hours just to meet her. The tavern door chimed, and a young woman entered, her movement speaking of a military background. She was Jessica Chen, an army medic who had just returned from Syria. Seeing Maya's story online, She'd spent an hour sitting in her car trying to find the courage to come inside. Jessica's story spilled out: the convoy ambush, the soldiers she couldn't save, the nightmares that kept her from sleeping. Maya guided Jessica to a quiet booth. "6 months ago, I was hiding from my own shadow," Maya confessed, rolling up her sleeve to show her shrapnel scars. "I thought my scars made me weak, but these aren't signs of failure. They're proof of battles survived." She told Jessica that her fallen comrades would never truly leave her, but they could be honored by living and by helping others. Jessica's shoulders relaxed slightly as she listened. Murphy appeared with coffee, his quiet understanding a comfort to both women. Strength isn't about hiding wounds. It's about sharing them so others know they're not alone. She gestured around the bar, now filled with veterans and